should let me love you forever, forever. I wanna love you. Will you let me love you forever, forever and a day, 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 day.
Guys, welcome to the Melanated Way. I'm your host, Linda Antwi. We have a special treat in store for you. Guys, you have questions. We have questions. We have Jarod Clark from Seeking Sister Wives here to answer all the questions that we have. So let's welcome Jarod on screen. Jarod, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this.
Blessings, blessings. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we're doing this in conjunction with Master of BlackJack. And I jumped in on season 3 of Seeking Sister Wives and was hooked. And so many people were hooked. And I had questions and I have questions. So what I want to do is start from the very, very beginning with you. Because I feel like we've kind of been left in a little bit of limbo. We'll address some of those issues later in our interview. But let's start from the beginning. So, Jarod, tell me, how did you get started, if that's the appropriate question, in a polygamous lifestyle?
Well, to be honest, it was something that I've always seen growing up and things of that nature. But I reached a place where ultimately I was just trying to figure out a way to continue to expand and you know, take my family to the next level. What was it I was missing? You know, were there certain people in my circle? What research or things could I study? And in doing that, I actually started studying a lot of things from Kemet, ancestors. You know what I'm saying? How tribes and kingdoms were built, and that opened up the door to seeing how multiple or plural family homes were able to work together to create the wealth and knowledge that they had.
Now, what does a plural relationship require?
What does it require? I mean, other than a open mind and an open heart would be, I think, the foundation. Other than that, the dynamic is going to be something that the people within that relationship, they're going to cultivate, they're going to map that out. And I don't think there's no other requirements other than, like I said, you know, just having an open mind and an open heart.
Okay, Jarod, Vanessa and you have been together for many years, right? So she's like, for lack of better term, she's the main chick.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then,
words are rough when you're dealing with this this type of relationship. But yes, that would be correct.
okay. And how did you guys meet originally, and how did she become open to this lifestyle?
Short version. I was active duty military out in California at the time. Recently divorced, actually, and she worked in a deli adjacent to the complex where I lived, and I would see her every day. You know, I was on my health kick. No processed foods. I always, so I would see her because I would always go in to purchase, fresh, daily meats or, hit the herbal aisle, which was, in her section. So I would see her all the time, and she would always have someone in her face. Someone was always trying to talk to her. So I would say probably about 6 months, I just would see her in passing, smile, and keep going. And one day it just so happened to be nobody was there. Nobody was talking to her. It was just me and her, and sparked a conversation from there.
Okay. And then how did you know that relationship was going to become something? Like, because
Okay.
I feel personally from watching the show, and I'm still like, I have so many questions. So from watching the show, how did you know that Vanessa was going to be open to the lifestyle that you were pursuing?
Well, very early on in the relationship, I will have to say she was somebody who listened. I can see the gears turn as I spoke. And that was something that I wasn't used to dealing with some of the women I've dealt with in my past. And it was like an active listening process. And so she wasn't listening to respond. She was listening to take the information in. And that kind of allowed us to maneuver through life and allowed me to be the man that I needed to be because she allowed me to. So when I got ready to introduce it to her, I knew that she would at least receive it to want to hear, she wanted to receive it to hear for understanding rather than, shutting it down right away. So I know I could at least present it to her. And if it's something that she's not on board with, we move on.
Okay, so she's on board. You guys have spent many years together and have a family. I believe you have 4 kids at home. Now, what's the incentive for the next woman who doesn't have the history that you two have to join this family?
Well, here's the thing. I always tell people you have to worry about creating for yourself. You can't go into any scenario. Like if you go into a job, you're not going to go in a job, look at somebody who's been there 10 years and be upset with their seniority or because they've been there, they've learned how to do the job better than you or whatever. So with this same situation, you have to understand I'm coming into this trying to build my own 10 years with this person. And I think the biggest incentive would be you're dealing with something that is established. You're dealing with something, 2 individuals who, have already taken the time out to understand one another. And you kind of ahead of the curve because at any time you can say, hey, what does Vanessa like about this? Or how does she like to maneuver through these type of situations? Or they can say, Vanessa, how does Jarod deal with this? And you can get kind of like inside track information. And I don't think a lot of people that do go into these relationships use that information. They don't take the time to say, hey, I have an expert on the subject. Let me tap into the expert so that I can kind of, get ahead of the game. So I think that would be an incentive, dealing with people who are well established and have some type of understanding of each other.
Now, watching this series, I see that every family is slightly different. So I want to talk about your family specifically and quote the kingdom and what that is based off of. So does that have like a biblical base? When we talk about tribal meetings, you talk about how you're the king, you're the judge, you're the jury. Where are you basing that from?
Okay. So words mean things.
Absolutely.
Right? I believe people, they fail to understand that even, we spell words, words are manifesting things. So spelling, you're casting spell, you're speaking things into the atmosphere and you're creating. So when I speak about my family, my household, I refer to that as my kingdom. That is my domain. That is the thing that I have to protect and provide for. That is the thing that I have to cover, enlarge, So I do refer to it as that for those reasons. Words mean things, but as well, we always accept things that are worldly, but we will excuse things of positivity. And that kind of baffles me. I can refer to you as I can I don't want to cuss, but it's like, I could call you a bee, a hoe. I could say all of these terminologies that is accepted out in the world. But as soon as I call you a queen, oh, I'm trying too hard. I can call I can say, what's up? Excuse me. I can say, what's up, bro? I can say, I can use the N word as a form of affection, and that's accepted in the world. But as soon as I call another black man a king, because I don't want to call him black, black is a color. But as soon as I refer to another brother as king, I'm trying too hard. I'm doing too much. As soon as I elevate myself, I'm doing too much. So I don't like to set any limits or standards. You know what I'm saying? I always like to give as much positivity as I can. And so anything that I can do to, place myself in a higher state of mind before I even get there is a plus to me. So that's why I use those terminologies. I use that ideology with my family as well as with other people that I embrace.
Makes sense. Now, I want to talk a little bit about Kay and Kay joining your family, and the biggest issue with her being that she wanted to establish herself as an individual. She wanted to have multiple jobs and have her own money. And given what you've said, your house is your kingdom, you were the king of your household. What was the disconnect there? Because if you are indeed the king of the household and willing to provide for your family, why did she feel the need that she needed to provide for herself?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, that wasn't the whole story.
Okay, what's the whole story?
It wasn't the whole story. By the time we got ready to film, Kayla and I said we had been separated for a while to try to see if it was worth us getting back together. We did actively come back together. And when we came back together, it was, you're going to live where you're at and we can try to start the building blocks again. So by the time we're filming, we're within that building block stage. But unbeknownst to me at that time, she was living with another family. So
Another polygamous family?
yes. So she wanted out of that situation, but, and we discussed this, but she didn't want to seem as though she was running back to safety, so to speak. And hindsight is 2020. These are things that we discussed already, but during that time, she wasn't being completely forthright. She wasn't divulging all the information. So where there was 2 jobs, the reason for those 2 jobs was because the people she was dealing with could not financially sustain the household. She was the she was the king. She was the leader over there. And I think that was a part of what drove her to want to continue trying, because her and Vanessa had a lot of finger pointing, so to speak. Vanessa saw benefits of Kay's position and Kay saw a lot of benefits of Vanessa's position, which seeing the benefits is one thing, but when you focus on that and you don't focus on yourself or the things that you're doing to, better the situation, that started to cause some discord. So I could protect and provide as a king should financially. Without a doubt, I covered every single aspect of our living. My wife Vanessa's income was solely for her and the kids to do whatever, for us to live and be free. Kayla wasn't required to work, but she felt like she had to work because her living situation at that time was unsteady.
Okay, so given that, why would she not just leave that family and come back to you? Because you guys had, what, 2 years history? Is it not that you guys were together?
Going almost 3.
Okay, so why would she not come back to something that she knew that was stable instead of kind of running herself ragged with 2 jobs and being, quote, like you said, the king of the family over there?
Again, there's things that people deal with within themselves. Past traumas, wanting to prove themselves worthy, maybe would be a way to explain it. And I think that's a lot of what Kay was dealing with at that time. She knew what I can do. She knew what I could provide, which is why we always stay connected, because if she ever was at a place where, darkest of dark, lowest of low, she know where she could reach to. And I think that she was trying to get away from that. She was trying to say, hey, I want to be able to do for self. But in doing for herself, she was doing more damage than she was good, because like I said, she was battling some things mentally. You know what I'm saying? Some internal, we all have our own demons to battle. But for her, it was, allowing herself to see herself, as an adult, so to speak.
Okay. Now, what I watched, and I did binge watch the season, I saw that relationship go from 0 to 100 almost like overnight, meaning from one episode to the next. and she seemed very angry with you, and the anger seemed very deep seated. And so when you guys did try to sit down and have a tribal meeting, it was almost like you guys were talking at each other and no one was listening. And so my question to you is, what was the underlying issue? Because yes, we can all be fighting our own demons and she's in a different place, but there was more to it that we didn't get the experience
True.
to understand. So what was that?
So as you know, with television, there's a lot of editing.
Mm-hmm.
That conversation lasted almost 3 hours. We started filming when it was daylight, and as you saw, by the time she was ready to go, it was dark, nighttime. So there was a lot of stuff that they couldn't use for legal purposes, a lot of things that were said or commented on, a lot of things that I won't be able to go into detail about for those same reasons. But what I can say is I was disappointed because she started to discuss things as if she kind of forgot who I was. And in me reminding her of, you know, how I felt about her and who I was to her, I feel like she felt I was attacking her, or like I thought you wasn't going to tell everybody how I messed up or how I or these things that we've been through. I thought we weren't going to discuss that, and I wasn't discussing them. But I think she felt I was going to go into detail on some things. So in order to kind of stop me in my tracks, it was like an explosion. So the entire conversation, it was a lot of positive things said and agreed upon until I asked her a question concerning some things we had agreed to about her coming back, about us spending time, and she threw some things out there, and my rebuttal caused her to go into that I guess I would say defense mode, because I think she thought I was going to out her, so to speak. And I would, and we had already discussed before the cameras got there. We weren't going to do that to each other, regardless of how heated or how big a disagreement we had on camera. There were certain things we weren't going to talk about, and I remained true to my word throughout the entire show. I never badmouthed her. But there's plenty of things I can say that would allow people to say, okay, makes sense. But I'm not going to do that. I think people who are locked in their right mind have a little common sense to understand where the breakdown was.
Okay. I'm going to circle back to that in a moment. I want to talk about how your life has changed being on national TV and some of the stereotypes you must deal with being in a polygamous relationship. So how has your life changed being on a national TV show? And what are some of the stereotypes that you're dealing with?
Well, my life has changed. Probably just being recognized, I think, would be the biggest thing. You know, in the gym, working out, in the grocery store, just being approached or somebody staring at you from a distance and you like, hey, how you doing? Is like, you know, they like, oh, I didn't want to stare, but are you the guy from? So that would be the biggest, that would be the biggest change, because I've always been a people person. Like, you know, I've always been the person that I'll spark up a conversation. I don't meet a stranger. I'm always about dropping positive energy in the universe so that I can get that back at sometimes. It's like making a deposit. So just being recognized will probably be the biggest change. Yeah, I would say, you know, that's about the biggest change.
Now, has it opened it up to other potential sister wives for you?
Now that I would have to agree to as well, because we were dealing with dating sites, you know, social media platforms and groups where you would, you know, meet a select group of people because those people are looking. or I could meet somebody out in public, explain to them, my lifestyle, and then either they gravitate towards it or they say, hey, you know what, I'm used to a more traditional methods, if traditional is a word they want to use.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, my inbox is, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to sort through, people who are genuine and those who maybe are just, fishing, so to speak.
Okay.
But
And you talked a little bit about that. So I want to talk about your date with Emily and how that transpired. And you talked a little bit about when you want a new sister wife to join the family, they can't be like testing and curious. Like they have to know that they want this lifestyle. Does that still pertain?
absolutely. I think even with what you said about meeting new sister wives, I think that's a lot of what some women who view the show, they're kind of exploring the aspect. And I have nothing against people who are exploring or figuring themselves out. I just don't want to deal with somebody who's figuring themselves out. And I've been bashed for this. Like, oh well, you don't want to give me a chance because I don't live this way yet, or it's not the case. It's like if you get hired for a job, you can't say it's discrimination because they say you got to have 10 years experience, So do you not agree?
I don't agree. And here's why I don't agree. How do you know that your potential, and I'm going to use soulmate sister wife, is not there if they don't have the experience? Because someone has to start somewhere, right? So
You're
if
exactly right.
I was like, oh, I'm really curious, because I am curious, genuinely curious because I don't know. So if I'm genuinely curious and I say, hey, you know what, this might be a fit, and I don't know enough because I haven't lived this lifestyle, but I'm open, right? So that should be the first thing, is that you're open to living this lifestyle. What does that entail? And then you come in and say, well, it entails X, Y, and Z. Now, going back to you saying that you and Vanessa being established for 10 years and being successful in it, then you should be able to use that knowledge and use that experience to basically, usher in a new sister wife and support and nurture that relationship. In my opinion, if you just kind of say, oh, well, you don't know anything about it, so no, we're not trying to deal with you, then how do you know that that's not your future sister wife that you've just kind of pushed to the wayside?
I'm glad you said that. So for me, I knew Vanessa was who she was going to be to me the first time I spoke to her. I'm not being cheesy. I'm not being rude, but I told her the first time we went out, I said, you're going to be my wife. You're going to be my wife. We're going to be together forever. That was because that was something that I felt, and it was something that I saw. Now, as far as meeting someone new who's exploring this lifestyle, if I felt that initially from them, I would give that time. But the same way a woman would say, I don't want to date a guy that's under 6 feet tall, or I don't want to date a guy that's overweight or underweight, or whatever your personal preference is. My personal preference is not to deal with somebody who doesn't have experience in understanding the lifestyle, because from my experience, I've dealt with people who are, know nothing about it. And I've dealt with people who have been living this way for years, living this way longer than myself. And I think it's an easier transition when they have some type of self-knowledge, meaning they've kind of studied it. They've done some research. I don't mean they've been in a relationship, a poly relationship before. I just mean they have some type of knowledge or understanding of it.
Okay, that's something different though, right? So that's different. So you can have the knowledge and understanding of what a plurist relationship looks like, right? Because we can all do that. We can all Google it. We can all do that. So you're saying if you don't have the actual experience, but you have the knowledge, then you're open to exploring that person. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I would be able to give that person time of day, because, and I say time of day because I feel like you're taking it serious. My thing is, it's just like anything else in the world. You're not going to go into something that you really are interested in completely blind. Like, You haven't done any research on it. You don't know anything about it. You just like, oh, that looks cool. I'm gonna do it. Okay, that may work for some people. That's not something I want.
Okay, so let's talk about Emily specifically. Why did that not work?
Well, I knew Emily for about 2 years prior to, so I was aware of some of her situations, probably more than what she thought I did. She would discuss with me a lot. I was the one person within our group of friends who was more like a, lack of a better term, father figure to her than like a boyfriend or whatever. And in us talking, I saw that she had a lot of growing to do. She had a lot of growing to do, not just as an adult, but she had a lot of growing to do with understanding herself. I just came out of a relationship where I was dealing with somebody who was still learning themselves. So why would I put me and my family back through that learning curve and I don't have to? And
I agree with you.
yeah,
I think she was too young.
definitely.
And I think that she was still finding who she was sexually, like where she stood sexually.
And they made a huge deal out of that. There's a lot of things that we couldn't discuss bedroom wise, but I want to say it like we all interact with each other within my house. If we're growing together, we're building together, we are allowed to interact physically together as well.
That was my next question, because I mean, I'm just going to ask you, we need to be real and keep it real. So I don't understand why the sister wives can't be together. I don't understand that. And is that in all polygamous relationships, or is that you specifically?
No. So there is polygyny, which is a man who has multiple wives, but there's also another term that people are using called bipolygyny, which means that, you know, that man has multiple wives, and those wives are allowed to physically engage each other when their man is not present, when their husband's not present. Then in polygamy, polygamy is more viewed as, for lack of a better term, a throuple or a three-way. All three of those individuals are dating each other equally. So the way that me and my wife have established our dynamic is she doesn't want to date a woman.
Okay.
That's just not something that she wants. She is a sensual being. She does enjoy feminine energy, which is why she was open to the relationship. But she can't date a woman only. So it's not like, for lack of a better term, we don't like to say she's bisexual, because she's like, I can never date a woman. I would never want to be alone with a woman. I need a man. I want to be with a man, but I can physically embrace a woman.
See, and that wasn't explained in your season at all.
Yeah, it was something that was, you know, that they wanted to, you know, I guess, you know, steer away from. And I mean, we understand what we were signing up for when we signed up.
Okay.
So, you know, it was one of those things where if people are going to deal with us on a personal level, when we discuss these things with them in private, we have that understanding in private. All the rest of that stuff is people just guessing.
Okay, so I'm gonna, again, because this is our style, I'm gonna say this: it didn't come across that way on the show. It did come across as it was really just about you and what you wanted and what your needs were, and that you wanted to eventually end up with 4 wives, and that you were the center of that whole situation. Now, had it been explained that, like, the feminine energy and the sisterhood and all of that, I think it would have made more sense. Because then I think that more people would say, okay, I get it. It's not just about Jarod is the king of the household and what he wants goes and what he says goes. It's more about the entire family. Yes, he's traditionally the head of the household, but we all interact together and we all love on each other, and we all can, like you said, interact with each other. And especially if you know, the head of the household is outside of the house, then the wives can still interact and they can still have that feminine connection. And whether that translate into something sexual or maybe it's just something intimate, right? Because intimacy does not always
translate into sex.
Exactly.
That was
And
not
that,
explained.
and that's the way we've lived for the past 4 years, those 3 years that those close to 3 years when we were with Kayla. That was how that was the makeup of our relationship. If everyone who's followed us on social media and stuff prior to the show, they know how we operate. They've seen our lives, they've seen our videos, they knew who we were. As far as being on TV, you're still kind of bottlenecked because you only have X amount of time to tell a story, and then they have to refine it and edit it down to fit the narrative that they desire.
Right. Now, go ahead.
So basically, we, me and Vanessa, we do believe that, I am the head. I do lead. I'm not going to say I am the center, but I am what holds the family together. And I think that I watched, I sat back and watched, and I see how, I see how some, audio and things could run together where it looks like it was made more of a bigger deal than what it really was. I just
have
to say that.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. I want to ask you a question. What do you think? What percentage of the population do you think is fit for this lifestyle?
What percentage?
Mm-hmm.
I would probably say about 80%. When I say
80% of the population.
Now, so to explain when I say 80%, you said fit for it. Now I'm talking about those people who are closing their right mind, just regular closing their right mind, have a regular grasp of understanding life, period. And I say 80% because we as, if you want to speak animal instincts, like, we are not monogamous by science. We're not monogamous creatures. We just aren't. A woman can have a baby, once every 9 to 10 months, right? But a man could have, 90 babies in 9 months if he wanted to, you know what I'm saying? So, just scientifically speaking, like, monogamy is not the nature of man. So
80%, you think? Because I think that might be a bit of exaggeration. When I was doing my research, it's more towards 10 to 20%.
See, and what you did was basically reverse what I said. So it's like, yeah, I want to say 80% of the population can, if they so desired and put forth the effort, they can. Now, we've been brainwashed, we've been a little programmed a little bit. So it's not going to be that easy. But, like, just generally speaking, 80% of the population, if they put forth the effort, this would be something that would, expand households. You know what I'm saying? Single mothers, being able to. It's a whole nother aspect of this. How this, helps the community versus how it helps the one man.
I understand. It takes a village. That saying is a saying for a reason, right?
Correct.
So I absolutely understand that. I want to talk about Krista. So here's the thing that I found a little bit infuriating. We didn't see you on the last episode of season 3. So we kind of were left on a cliffhanger. And then we were introduced to Krista. Where do things stand with Krista?
So me and Krista, we're still cool. We're still friends. COVID kind of slowed that all the way down. We missed about 3 opportunities for visits. Things opened back up, but she had some, and that's been like the story of my life dealing with the seeking process. Things start off very strong, and then things kind of transpire in that person's life that kind of puts a restriction on it. And her being a single mother, not really having somebody to say, watch the kids, but then you offer, hey, let's make this a family affair, like you and your kids, us and our kids, let's take a beach trip, let's take a family trip. That was something that she wasn't comfortable with, introducing her children to the lifestyle yet. So right now we're just continuing to communicate online, and when she gets to a place to where she's comfortable, then that's maybe something we could discuss. But it doesn't,
it doesn't look like I'll be moving forward in that direction with her.
How hard is it to find a sister wife?
It's hard.
And why do you think that is?
3 reasons. Now I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but I'm going to tell you the truth. My truth. Number one reason it's hard for me to find a sister wife. I have a beautiful wife of 11 years, and everything that the reason why we've been together, that long and still going is because she's like the prototype, so to speak. And that is something that I had to deal with probably about 2 years ago. I had to get out of a place of saying, well, I don't deal with that with Vanessa. Why would I deal with that with her?
Mm.
Vanessa doesn't do this, so why should I allow her to do this?
Mm.
So for me personally, I had to get myself to a place to where, again, I learned that person for who they are and build and create with that person. So that is something that I will say as a human being is hard to do.
Okay.
Very, very hard to do. Second reason is I guess, for lack of a better term, people feel like this is more of a sexually based atmosphere. Like you come in and it's all about just the physical. And when you have nothing more to offer me and my family other than your body, yes, you're a physically attractive, beautiful woman. But if I say, hey, I got this real estate deal, can you send these emails out? And if I can't trust you to do something as simple as that, then it's like, all you're good for is just presenting yourself physically. That's not something that I desire. And a lot of women look at this as a physical, I can't think of the term I want to use, but it's like a physical transaction is the first transaction that they think about when they think about a poly relationship. And that physical should be something maybe at least number 2. It's not the first, it's not the most important thing, but that for us, it's like number 3 or 4. Like for us now, it's like, I'm not even thinking about sleeping with you until I see, 2 or 3 other things before that.
What's the third reason?
And lastly, I think would be social media. Social media sometimes give people a false pretense of who you are. I think a lot of women I've ran into think that it's a lot of partying, a lot of trips. I think they get that. I don't know. I think they think it's like more of a relaxed, like I'm out every weekend, or like we travel all the time, or I'm home with my kids. Like,
yeah, so they're thinking that maybe you're like hanging out at swingers resorts every weekend.
Yeah, or like we popping bottles, taking a private jet to something. I'm like, look, just because there's funds, I'm frugal with money. Like I'm the person who I'll buy my kids anything, but when it's time to buy me something, I'm like, do I really need to get that? I'll second and third guess myself. So they come into the situation like money, money, money. And I'm like, yeah, we can afford to do that, but why would I do that? And I don't have to. Like, it's a waste of money. And it kind of turns them off because they thought that it was going to be a more fast-paced lifestyle. And we aren't fast-paced people like that.
Do you think you were accurately portrayed on the show?
No. I would say I'll probably say 50% of who I am came through. Honestly. I am assertive. I am pretty straightforward and firm in what I believe and what I think. But the other 50% got lost in translation when it comes to how I view women, how my love language. I think a lot of that wasn't able to be touched on.
I agree with you 100%. I think this interview is going to be important because I think people are going to see a different side of you. So me just meeting you and then also watching the full season. I think that there were some obstacles that were presented to you indirectly that I think that, is something that you may have had to overcome, but I don't think that you were given the opportunity to. And here's what I mean by that. I think that because you come across, and I'm just going to give you my first impression from watching the show. You come across as this, uber fit, tall, big black man that has all these demands, and he's the head of the household. And he's the head of the household because he's this tall, big black man, and what he says it goes. Okay. So then you throw in, 4 foot nothing, K into the situation, and then very intelligent but quiet and passive Vanessa, and you come across 100 times more out there, right? Speaking to you now, it's a kind of a different thing, and it's unfortunate because I get that it's entertainment, and I get that there's a specific production necessary in order for it to be entertainment for people. However, I think that just being a black man in America, and you're not the typical black man, and people have questions, and those questions don't get answered in this season. I think that's unfortunate because if you look at other couples that are living the same lifestyle, I don't think that they had the same obstacles, in my opinion, from what I personally watched, that you had. Now, doing this interview, I kind of have a little bit of a different perspective in these first 30, 40 minutes of talking to you, where, let's talk about how you seem to be highly educated. You seem to be articulate. You seem to know exactly what you want and what's good for you in your lifestyle and just your life in general, right? So you talked a little bit about, we've been conditioned to think this and to think that, and thinking outside the box. A lot of people are not going to understand that, right? Because that's just not how they were raised. That's not what they see. And so going back to you saying, hey, 80% of the population, if they were indeed enlightened, for a lack of a better term, they might be more open and susceptible to a different type of lifestyle. Do you think that that's accurate in saying?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct. I agree with that.
Okay. Now I want to talk about why we didn't see you on the last episode, and without getting too into it, because from my understanding and my research and just talking to a few other people in the production world, season 4 is kind of up in the air. So at first we heard that that's it, it's a wrap, you guys are done, and now we're kind of hearing a little bit of talk of perhaps they might move forward with the season 4. We didn't see you in the last episode. What would you have wanted shown if it was up to you in that last episode?
First, I had to say thank you for even, acknowledging or understanding that, TV could be, one-sided, and people automatically assume you're, big strong guy, and I got feelings too, but I'm not one to wear my feelings on the sleeve, and I'm more the be strong for my family, because Vanessa, she's super soft-hearted. She don't want to read comments. They don't understand. Why would they say that? I'm like, baby, it's cool. I read the comments and get a laugh out of it. So I appreciate you even acknowledging that. That does mean something to me. And I think the direction that they started to go with us and the kids, I wish that was something that we could have incorporated a little more, because we did film some of that type of stuff throughout the season. I think what I would have liked to have seen was there was someone else that we were due to date that was more local. Mm-hmm. And I think they were because of timing, they were thinking about coming back, and we just didn't get an opportunity to show that last aspect of it, because this young lady, she has kids as well. She's somebody that we still communicate with. We're more of real good friends right now, and I'm kind of just letting it naturally take that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have liked to continue the family aspect of it, because that was ultimately why we even decided to live this way.
Now, if there were to be a next season, would you sign on?
Most definitely. Number one reason why I would do it is to be able to do exactly what I'm doing with you, get more of to give more of a clearer picture of not only who I am or who my family is, but I want to give more of a clear picture of what the lifestyle is really about. And every opportunity I got to do that, I'm going to take it.
Now, does faith play a big part in your lifestyle?
I'm a very spiritual person versus religious.
Mm-hmm.
And so faith plays a huge, faith and trust plays a huge part in how my family, how we live, the decisions that I make for my family. And I like to point out, when I say spiritual, I believe in God. I believe that there is one God. I believe, you know what I'm saying, that we are made and created in God's image. And so I feel like there's a lot more within us that, as you say, enlightenment is being closer to God.
Mm-hmm.
And so having faith that things are going to be and work out the way that they should, manifesting those truths and really believing that the things I speak are going to come, that is a huge part of how we live.
Now, are you ever open to expanding where you seek your sister wives outside of the United States of America? Do you think that that's something that would be a possibility?
We tried. COVID again, shot that out the air. Australia, Africa, the UK. There were people who I had been talking to for over a year prior to the show filming. So that was going on 2 years of knowing someone who, by the time we got to a place to where we would even have a visit, there was no flights. There was no coming and going out the country. And it was like, I don't know. I didn't view it as like, okay, well, maybe that was something maybe you avoided something there. But at the same time, I was like, well, maybe God slowed it down so that I could continue to learn and fix and see where I got here before I venture out to bring something else in. So it's a double-edged sword. But yes, I have thought about it. I have tried.
So in saying all of that, do you believe that eventually you'll get to your kingdom of having 4 sister wives?
I have to say, if I'm being realistic at this place, I wouldn't have. It's more about quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't want to give less of myself when, it's like spreading peanut butter too thin on a slice of bread. I don't want to. You don't eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. The just have bread, no peanut. So I think more realistically, I think 3, meaning Vanessa and 2 other women, would be the furthest I would even venture to try. But if and this is something we've discussed on all our social media even before the show, I don't have a set number. I believe that whatever is for me is going to be. If I find a second sister wife and it's just me, Vanessa, and that sister wife, and that's it, and it works and it clicks, and that's it. But at the same time, if it is, say, us 3, and we're all open to there being a third sister wife, and it happens, then okay, that happens. But I'm not saying I'm going to be actively seeking, is what I'm saying.
What's your type?
I used to say I didn't have a type.
You have a type because you said, I'm not into that ratchet, loud stuff and fighting. So you obviously do have a type.
And that's what I was gonna say. I usually like to say I don't have a type, but I probably a woman who's more uh, refined and knowing who she is. Just simply saying, "Hey, I know that I'm not 100% in this department, and this is something I need to work on."
What's the department?
I mean, any department. I just mean a woman who understands that she has flaws, or these are things that I need to work on to better myself. Just somebody who understands who they are and what they need to work on. You know what I'm saying? I would say, like, I don't physically, there's not anything physically that I gravitate towards other than just good general health. So I don't care if she's a thicker, larger woman or a slimmer, smaller woman. Those type of things don't really matter to me, as long as she's within good health. And obviously, I mean, if I'm physically attracted to you, it then it doesn't matter.
What makes you physically attracted to somebody? You have, like, we all have it. Let's just go basic and primal, like you said. We all have it. We might not think we have a type, but there's something that, hey, that person's walking down the street, they caught my eye. So let's be real, like, Jarod. What is your what?
I get what you're going for. I get what you're going for. So if you want to say what I'm physically attracted to, I do care for a more fit, or
someone who's active.
Yeah, just a more healthy, a more visually healthy person. When I say visually healthy, I just mean someone who's not overweight. Now, I am talking to women who are in. It's not. I guess I'm trying not to, you know what I'm saying?
I'll say it. You are talking to people that maybe aren't in their ultimate fitness goals, but considering that you are a coach and a personal trainer,
correct.
If there's that attraction there initially and it becomes something, then you can work with that.
Correct. That's A1 nail on the head, because if that person is willing to put forth the effort, to me, that's sexy. You say, hey, I know I'm not what I should be, but I'm willing to, you know what I'm saying, better myself, because it's not just a physical aspect, fitness wise. You got to think, I want to have longevity with you. You know, I don't want to be, 50 years old and you got health complications and we can't travel, we can't do stuff. You're sick, so it's not all about just being fit, aesthetically fit, but being ultimately healthy fit too. I don't like, smokers, like cigarette smoke. I don't like, super heavy drinkers. I drink on occasion, but it's mostly like wine or something like that. But I don't like super heavy drinkers. Try to avoid people who don't like to cook. If you don't like to cook or don't like home cooked meals, that tells me that, you're probably eating out a lot. And if you're eating out a lot, then you don't really know what you're putting in your body.
I have a very important question for you. Throughout our shows, we've been having this conversation because we do cover a lot of shows. We're finding through the pandemic that a lot of people are cooking at home, which I think is a great thing. But they're eating off of paper plates. Master of BlackJack has an opinion. I have an opinion. What's your opinion? If you cook from scratch at home, do you eat with silverware and regular plates, or do you eat off of paper plates?
If I'm going to be forced to choose, you got to eat off. You got to use your silverware. You got to use your porcelain or your hard ceramic plates.
Thank you. This is not a barbecue. This is not a picnic. This is not a party. I'm not saying, hey, you know what? You have a paper plate and we're having cheese and crackers. Cool. We're having something that we threw in the microwave. I understand that. But when someone has taken the time, in my opinion, to make a home cooked meal, and perhaps you're going to have some glassware and have some wine with your dinner, plates need to be involved. That's all I'm saying.
Indeed. And I mean, we tried the paper plates. This was mainly for the kids. Hey, y'all about to have, like you said, grapes and graham cracker, little snack stuff. But I'm not cooking like a full course meal and going to serve it to you on a paper plate. It's almost kind of disrespectful to the chef, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. It's and listen, this is an ongoing debate that we're having, so I'm glad that you were able to clarify where you stand on it. We
My
also
bad,
talk
brother. Whoever the other guy was, my bad, man. But
Master of BlackJack, in conjunction with Master of BlackJack. He has his own opinions, and I'll let him tell you once we get this all sorted. The other four things that we talk about a lot,
okay.
and I want to see where you stand on it. So, in entering a relationship, I want to know if polygamous relationships have these requirements as well. I always say that before you get into a serious relationship, you need to have this conversation with that person that you are deciding to move forward with. The first thing that you need to talk about is sex.
Mm-hmm.
How important sex is, how often you want to have sex in your relationship, and where you fall with the idea of sex. The second thing that I say is important is children. And especially in your situation where you already have children, does that person want children in the future? Because if that person wants children and perhaps you don't want any more children, I think that that's a non-negotiable, because I think that at some point there's going to be some resentment, and resentment leads into other things, infidelities, all of that. The third thing that I think that is an important thing is faith. And when I say faith, I'm not talking about religion per se. I'm talking about what you believe, right? Because especially if you're saying, hey, we want to bring children into the world, and how are we going to raise those children? What belief systems are they going to have? You have to have that conversation. And last and definitely not least is money. How you spend money, how you save money, how you view money. So, given that, do you agree with those four things? And how does that fall into a plural relationship / lifestyle?
Well, I agree with that 100%. We're going to be truthful in the aspect of your physical, sexual, intimate love language matters.
Absolutely.
Period. If this person is philly touchy and their love language is to be, physically up under you, and that's how they show intimacy, and they want to receive that to feel or see intimacy, and you are a person of small gestures, you want things done for you to show you or make you feel, right there you have two different ways to show love. And if you don't discuss those things, one person is not going to be able to meet the other person's love language. And sex is just bad. Sex will cause a bad relationship.
Those are your facts.
For a long time, good sex caused me to keep a relationship I probably should have let go a lot sooner. They continue.
We've all been there.
Yeah, they continue to come back, and I allowed them to come back because they wanted to only come back to receive a physical pleasure. I knew that, and it bothered Vanessa because she was like, they're not really doing what they're supposed to do. Like, they shouldn't be able to, they shouldn't be able to have the whole cow. You know what I'm saying? And so that was something I learned. And children, during the show, there was a young lady that I've known for 3 years. She didn't make the show because we had a disagreement about my kids, and I stopped dealing with her because of how she verbally communicated with my kids. Everything else was fine. She just could not communicate with my kids in a way that was acceptable to my heart. I just couldn't deal with it. They just decided to cut all of that stuff out. So there's another tidbit for you. So
it's all in the editing.
Correct. But it was something we discussed. I didn't even want to. We all agreed it was like, when I say we are, me and Tia, so we both agreed, hey, that's something we don't even want to. She's not even going to get the benefit of even because but children is A1. Spirituality, or faith, having something that you believe in, that plays a whole part in how you move forward in life, in your career field, in your motivation for life, just in general. Like if you have no faith, you have nothing to believe in, then like what is driving you? And if we don't agree to some aspect on what faith is to us as a whole, as a unit, we don't get that unity. And lastly, you said finances, and as we spoke earlier, finances can make or break a relationship simply because finances mean something different to different people. For a long time, Vanessa and I, just to give you an idea of something we battled within our own relationship. Early on, while I was in the military, we didn't have the kids we had, things of that nature. Money, money, money. Go on deployment, money, money, money. Money didn't mean nothing to me. I was like, you want it, get it. That was, and to her, she was like, well, money don't impress me. Money doesn't. And as life goes on, we started to kind of, revolve. And it was like, now money kind of means something to her. She's like, hey, we don't have this type of money, we can't live this type of life. I can't get this for the kids. I stress about this or stress about that. So me making sure that money is in the proper place for us allowed to soothe her soul, so to speak, so she's not stressing about certain things.
Yeah.
So having a financial understanding and like just having like some type of like vision board as a unit of what our finances should be or how to get to those finances is something that I think all relationships, whether plural, monogamous, that you should sit down and do with your significant other.
Now, what is one thing that you want viewers to know about you? What's the takeaway that you want that you were not able to achieve as the season ended? What do you want people to know about you, your lifestyle, your family, your wife?
Two things. One, I'm not a dictator. These are grown women, mentally closed in their right mind, free to do, come, go as they please. And if these women so choose to give themselves to me in a way that is displeasing or disheartening to you or makes you feel some type of way, then that's something you got to deal with. These are grown women. There's nothing I make Vanessa do. She doesn't have a leash around her neck. She doesn't have, she can, like, I don't think people understand the power that women have. And sometimes it's disheartening to me when they say certain things. I'm like, you're a woman and you're speaking as if you're like a child. And you're talking about another woman as if she's a child. Women are the most powerful creatures on this planet. Everything that men do is for a woman. Everything. Don't nobody go out and buy no $100,000 car because it's fast. I could build a $10,000 car and it be fast. No, you get that $100,000 car because when you pull up, you want that woman to be like, oh, who's that? Let's be honest. Everything men do is for women. So women have the power. So don't sit around and think that a woman is just allowing herself to, and in some cases there are those, anomalies, but don't sit around and just think some woman is just getting ran over and don't have no say, because that's stereotyping. That's crazy. That's misogyny. That's all of the other stuff that women been fighting for all this time, and you're putting it back on yourself. So, these women aren't puppets. That's one thing I would like people to know. They want to live this lifestyle just as much as the man do. And secondly, I'm not an asshole. I'm a realist. I'm a realist. Me and Vanessa are yin to each other's yang, like literally. I'm a realist. She's a romantic. And in years, I've took a little bit of romantic from her, and she's got a little bit of being a realist from me. And we've kind of, it's kind of made me who I am. I'm never going to overlook what is for what could be. Not going to do it. And sometimes that comes off as being a little brash.
Fair. I appreciate your time, guys. We have touched all the subjects. We have asked all the questions. I know that you guys have more questions. We can't keep them on here all day. So we will say this. Thank you so much, Jarod, for being here. Thank you for asking our questions. 90 Day the Melanated Way, in conjunction with Master of BlackJack. We appreciate your time. And I know we're going to see more of you, whatever that looks like, whether there's a new season, whether, people reach out via social media, whatever. I think that we're going to see a lot more of the Clarks.
Hey, I need everybody to tag TLC in a picture of us, screenshot a picture of us, tag TLC and tell them we need a season 4. The story's not finished.
Let's do it. Yeah. Let's do it.
Blow
so guys, where can they find, so Jarod, on that note, where can they find you on social media so that they can go ahead and tag you?
Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find me, Jarod Clark, JAROD CLARK, Madhouse Muscle. It's my fitness brand, and it's MADHOUSE
Beautiful. We're gonna spearhead that, and definitely get some tagging going on through our network as well. Before I let you go, any advice for fighting this COVID-19? Because clearly it didn't attach itself to you.
I think that I actually lost weight.
Okay, see, now you're just being.
No, I didn't want to lose weight. I didn't lose weight. I think the biggest thing is, I tell my clients this all the time: consistency is key. Yeah. It's not about how hard or how much you're doing. It's about consistently doing something. Just stay consistent. You find something that works, stay consistent with that until you see a change.
So what's consistent? So we hear so many things. So is it really what you eat? Is it 80% diet, 20% exercise? Or is it something different? Is it more being active?
I could put you on a meal plan, and you can continue your regular everyday activity, and you will see results just from that meal plan. Then if you continue to eat the way you were eating and you busted your butt in the gym.
Fair.
It's just not, you cannot outwork a bad diet. It's just not gonna happen. Your body processes stuff at the speed of light, but you're not going to see that. So I think people need to understand that they need to find something called portion control. For instance, you seem like a hardworking woman. You're probably constantly moving and going. You can't not eat all day, and then when you do eat a big old meal and be like, okay, I'm full now. And you ate once.
Yeah.
You ate once. It's like, imagine like putting gas in your car and you driving your car on E.
Yeah.
It's like same thing with the body. If you consistently put small portions in, it's fuel. It's like a locomotive, like shoveling coal in. And if you just consistently shoveling small amounts of coal, it continues to burn, and that fire stays at a certain temperature. And, now we're burning body fat, and you get in the gym and you could build some lean muscle.
There, you guys heard it here. COVID-19. Let's get rid of it. Guys, thank you so much. And I'm sure we're going to see more of the Clarks very